When you write, the tone influences how readers respond. Grammarly, just highlight your text and type it.
Hold on. Oh, let's put you on Do Not Disturb. Let's put you on. So much to do. Oh, no. Hello. Hello, hello, IG. Are we live? We're almost live. I think. Almost there with IG. Bear with me. There we go. Hello and welcome. Welcome Facebook. Welcome IG. Welcome Zoom. Welcome Church of Healing Ministries. YouTube as well, and all of the Insta Metaverse world out there. This is Church of Healing Ministries. I'm Reverend Jamey, and welcome. This is an online, non-secular, non-denominational congregation. Yeah, welcome to November 12th, Sunday service. So just want to take a second to remind you to please like, subscribe. We don't ask for tithing, but any sort of engagement helps our algorithm, so we'll take it. It's a very laid back church. We're here every Sunday. And if we're not here, I post on Instagram and social media that we are skipping that Sunday. Oh, sorry, IG, you were not here. Almost. So we'll try that again. Welcome. Good morning. November 12th, 2023, Sunday service. I'm Reverend Jamey, and this is for the Church of Healing Ministries. I want to take a second to remind you to please like, subscribe, follow, do all the things. We don't ask for any tithing, but any sort of engagement helps our algorithm. So please do what you can. That would be helpful. If you do want to be an official member, we have a $1 a month Patreon that you can subscribe to at patreon.com/the_COHM, Church of Healing Ministries. Calm. Welcome. Today is Diwali. We're going to learn all about the significance and the importance to the changing season. We're also have Birth of Bahá'u'lláh, which is interesting. It's one of the 9 holy days in the Baha'i faith, and it's also World Kindness Day. We're going to go through the week of American education, International Fraud Awareness. Funny how they go together. National Farm City Week, National Global Entrepreneurship Week, World Antibiotic Awareness Week. Mind-gut connection is very real. And our ancestors knew that. Anyways, World Kindness Week is also this week. And this month, we're looking at National Home Care Month, the kindness one has when they are a caregiver. National Hospice Palliative Care Month, and what that could look like in the future, as well as what it looked like in the past with American Native Heritage. I'm not even gonna say Native American. I can't even believe I read that. I actually changed that on the social media, but National Native Heritage Month. I say Native, not American. You can't be native of a place that somebody comes after and then tells you you're from here in the future. That's not native. That doesn't work. It's an oxymoron. Anyways, don't get me started. Now, there's also National Child Mental Health Month. Getting back to basics will end a lot of this, but again, I digress. National Family Caregivers Month, it does take a village, and National Family Literacy Month, strengthen those around you. Our foods are plum and raisin bread. Now, the Catholic readings are going to be Amos 5:18 through 24, Psalm 70, 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 18, and Matthew 5:1 through 12. You can find us on YouTube at YouTube / at the @ for social media, _COHM. So we'll start with the introduction of really clearing our body. We're going to clear our holy temple. Before we get started with everything, that was just kind of a precursor of what we're going to go through. So let's start to breathe. Let's take a moment and just start to really sense the world around you. We're just going to focus on our breathing, inhaling and exhaling. We're going to start to count our breath. So we have an even breath in, an even breath out. I recommend about 4 to 5 seconds if you're new to equal breathing. Start to really sense the connection around you, but not just the connection, the energy that's all around you, whether it's the wood on your desk, whether it's the gold in your phone, whether it's the metal around you. Let's just take a moment to acknowledge that everything has energy. Everything in the environment that you're in has energy and affects the world around you. So taking some deep breaths in, we see and feel really where that energy might be stopped, whether it's soreness, agitation, whether you've got tight muscles. Really breathe and send love into those spaces. And you can do this throughout the day when your day gets a little hectic. And now we're going to add some tone to it. So 8 hertz tone that resonates with the heart, that also resonates at 8 hertz. Deep breath in, exhale, ah. And we're going to push that air out. So notice that we're surrounded by energy and we're breathing in, and we're exhaling, equal breath in, equal breath out. As we do that, we're going to add our tone. So as we push our breath out, we're going to say, ah. Deep breath in. Deep breath in. We're going to keep that rhythm going. and get in that tone and get in that rhythm and send love throughout your body, taking in the energy from all around. We're going to amplify that love in our body and exhale it. We can intake it through the palm of our hand, exhale it through the palm of our hands. Ah. Ah. As we just get into that flow, we feel that energy, we feel that frequency. We give gratitude. We live in that love and in that light space. And as we are taking our breath in and out, we're taking in love and amplifying it and exhaling. Changing our complete biosphere around us. Changing our complete electromagnetosphere around us. Changing our energy, changing our frequency, changing our aura. Getting into unity with Christ consciousness. Space of awe in our mind between thoughts. That is where God lives, between thoughts, between ego, lack of ego, and a state of peace. And as we come back to this space, we're going to keep that gratitude throughout the entire day. Welcome. Again, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Church of Healing Ministries. I'm Reverend Jamey. And this is Sunday, the 12th. We went over a little bit about what we'll be doing today. And really, we're going to start out with the introduction of Bahá'u'lláh. I think I said it right. And forgive me if I don't. You can always correct me politely and kindly down below as being completely clinically dyslexic. Reading and repeating what I've read or heard sometimes doesn't work out the way that one would anticipate. As honest as that is. Okay. So we're going to go over the background a little bit of this holiday. At dawn on November 12th in 1817, a child was born into an ancient and noble family in Persia. And the child became known as the Bahá'u'lláh, or in other words, the glory of God, who is supposed to be able to bring the world numerous blessings. And in 1863, the Baha publicity announced in Baghdad that he was the manifestation or messenger of God for a new and wonderful age in human development. So he would be the latest in a long time of great divine teachers throughout history, like Moses, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad. And it's reiterated that it doesn't really matter what your race is, that everyone gets their divine inspiration from one heavenly source. And our subjects are subjects of one God, and our earth is one country and mankind is its citizens. Pretty standard, I think. I mean, we believe that. I don't know. Doesn't seem too far off, but we'll go with it. And that God made humans from dirt so that nobody would be above another. I thought that was kind of cool. So now we're going to get into Diwali. Now, Diwali is celebrated on the darkest time of the year. It literally is the longest night in the calendar. So the Festival of Lights is not only able to be seen really well, it's also commemorates the victory over good versus evil. And this is in the Hindu, more of the Hindu beliefs. And not just Hindu, but there's a couple different cultures, Sikhs, Buddhists, they all celebrate Diwali. Now, this is really interesting because it doesn't, like I said, only commemorate the victory from good versus evil, but also we take a look at why we're entering this time that when we start to go introspectively, right, as we're talking about with the cycle of the planet, we're taking a look at what we need to do to better ourselves, right? During winter, before we're able to spring up our new intentions. So we can see that from the dawn of time, religions have used holidays to explain how to be able to direct your energy during this time in correlation with the energy of the season. Now, the story starts with one of the greatest spiritual epics of all time called the Ramayana. Now, the story has several layers, but on the core of it, it also represents every person's struggle to know themselves as it helps you understand how to live a better life. That's nice. I like that. I'm gonna make the birds start chirping louder. There we go. The battle starts between Ram and Ravan. And it's really a metaphor that's not only happening 1,000 years ago, but it's really happening internally and what happens right now inside of you each and every day. And it starts with Lord Ram, who represents our higher divine soul, an infinite life force that lives inside everyone in all places, aka God energy. And Ram lives in a place called, oh, I even phonetically spelled it out for myself. Look at me go again. Okay. Ayodhya. Did I say it right? I hope I said it right. If I didn't, correct it down below, please. Ayodhya. Right. Ayodhya. That's right. Which is a place that has no conflict. So our soul lives in a place that has peace. Pretty awesome. And that's that space of awe that we get to. That space between thoughts where there's no ego. It's just calm, happy, love energy, right? That's where God can lie. So that's where this kind of all ties in. So our soul's at peace. So it's not concerned with the little things and honestly very trivial things like, what am I going to wear today? Does my breath stink? Am I going to have a new car? You know, what's my job in the future? And am I going to get a new partner? Does this person like me? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of that talk, that internal dialogue that goes on in your head that doesn't allow for that space of awe, right? So when the ego grows, the space of awe gets shorter and sometimes non-existent. And we're just constantly having our thoughts flow and flow and flow and flow. And then we're like, oh my God, I'm depressed because I can't control my thoughts. I need medication. But it's really getting in that space of awe. So this internal conflict, right? In the story, everything changes when Ram marries Sita, which metaphorically represents the union between our soul and the human body. So as soon as that happens, they're vanished from Ayodhya. And this is a representation in our own lives, that whenever we are focused on thoughts, on the body, rather than our soul, we too lose our peace and we're banished into the darkness and just confusion of the world. So now the story goes on to say that Sita, even in that darkness, even in that place of banishment, the jungle of the world, as it's called, continues to meditate on Ram. But one day, Sita finds a golden deer. Shiny. Squirrel. That's kind of what it was like. And as she goes off to follow this deer, she, unbeknownst to her, didn't know that it was a trap. So just like Sita gets distracted and her eyes go towards that golden deer, we have constant distractions on worldly things. So she stops meditating on Ram and goes after the deer, and then's trapped by a demon called Ravan, who represents our ego and depicted as having 10 faces and 20 arms, which means our ego is really difficult to identify. It often comes with many disguises, with many forms and faces, and also comes from many directions. So the battle between Ram and Ravan continues until Ram is eventually victorious. So after defeating Ravan, he was able to get his soulmate back, Sita, and they went home. And this is a real human struggle between our ego and divine light. Now, his soulmate, as highlighted by spiritual guru Nanak, states, in each and every heart is the unseen and infinite Ram. And when we kill our egos, we then will unite this invisible and infinite truth. And in the words of Guru Nanak Nam, celebrating Diwali on the darkest time of the year reminds us to take a look at our own dark habits and to break free from them, right? Going back into our retrospective, looking at the past. And this is kind of what we've been doing these last couple weeks, right? Looking back at what we can improve and what we could do better. It's not just like, oh my God, I messed up, let me sit there and wallow in self-pity. It's, what can I do to better myself so that next year that doesn't happen and my soul can be elevated from the lessons learned in the previous year? So when we look at our own dark habits and break free from them and our worldly obsessions, ego, self-importance, insecurities, and all of our inner demons, this year, let's light candles and burn and learn to share the deeper meaning of this celebration and make this year a challenge for us all to let our own divine nature and true self shine as bright as possible so that we can become a beacon of light who are still in darkness. And that's also what we've been talking about, right? Even though there's people going through really traumatic things and it's sad and it's horrible and it's sometimes a little bit more than even we can bear. We have to be that light that can pull them out of that darkness, right? If we are not standing strong in light, faith, conviction, how are they going to find their way out of that? So the ones that are still in darkness, they don't need us to wallow and meet them in that darkness, right? They need us to pull them out of it. And this leads us to that first Catholic reading in Amos. So it's really interesting that Diwali happens on one side of the world, while on the other side of the world, Catholics are reading about God being the light of the world. Ironic. So we can see in multiple religions, in multiple belief systems that have the same theme, is carried on at the same time due to the cycle that our ancestors knew about and tried to explain through story, whatever part of the world you were in, and that created those religions. Now, it's good to keep in mind that as we enter this holiday season, we're reminded of this journey of the soul, not of Hallmark. It's not a Hallmark holiday season. Sorry, it's not what this is about. So if you're looking for, I don't know, you're probably not here looking for what to buy, but this is a journey of the soul. And as we come and we can get more out of our time together when we celebrate the true meanings and not just that Hallmark version. So Amos 5:18 through 24, this is the day of the Lord. So I'm going to read through it and then kind of explain. And it might actually kind of make sense to you as we kind of already went through what this darkest time of the year represents. So 18 through 24 states, woe to you, long for the day of the Lord. Why do you long for the day of the Lord? That day will be darkness, not light. It'll be as though a man fled from a lion only to meet a bear, as though he entered his house and rested his hand on the wall only to have a snake bite him. Will not the day of the Lord be darkness, not light, pitch dark, without any ray of brightness? quote, I despise your religious festivals. Your assemblies are a stench to me. Even though you bring me burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. Though you bring choice fellowship offerings, I have no regard for them. Away with the noise of your songs, and I will not listen to the music of your harps, especially that Christmas music over and over again that we all hate. But let justice roll on like a river. Righteousness is it's a never failing stream. So what this is meaning is, like, just because you have a festival that celebrates me once a year doesn't mean anything unless that stream, it rolls downstream all year long, right? Unless you're walking the walk and learning the path. All of that celebration in my name falls on deaf ears. It means nothing. It's hypocritical. And that's what that really means. Now, doesn't that just kind of tie right into American Education Week, International Fraud Awareness, and National Native Heritage Month, ironically? Thought I would throw that in there. I thought it was funny. Not funny, haha, but funny, whoa, really? Because our history has been written by the victor, right? It's never really seen both sides of the story equally. And when we do, it often causes a lot of cognitive dissonance. And this is when we have to really resonate with that Simon Peter, right? We have to really resonate with those 12 disciples so that we can have a discipled mind to understand and work through some of these inconsistencies. We have a quote, we have a statement on IG written by the links because it's what they want you to know and not what really is or was. Fair, super fair, right? That's why we have a lot of confusion. And the more you dive into what the world wants you to know, the more that there's confusion and conflict internally. So this is why when we pull away from the world, especially right now, especially during this time and season, when we can do a lot of purging of past patterns, those toxic patterns, purging of belief, purging of toxins in the body, and then we can resonate on what we want to grow as a human to be able to spring up in that springtime. And we have another quote saying, the true history is a lot worse, channel up more horrifying. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I try, it's in fun fact. As I've been going through my master's in public policy, I just did public policy theory. And every topic I would bring up facts of what's going on now. And my professor would, every time I would talk, would be like, that's enlightening and absolutely horrifying. But true. And I felt like I was just killing the spirits of some of these kids that were in the class, and some of the people that, were really had a lot of high hopes, but also confirmed a lot of beliefs. So it's interesting when we start learning the true meaning. And this is when people say you're woke, you have woken up to the realization that something wasn't right. We're just going to leave it at that. Something wasn't right. And when you start to find out what it is, there's what we call a spiritual emergence. And when you have these realizations, when you have this loss of ego, this can happen during sacred plant meditations, and integrating back takes a real certified medicine healer or trip sitter or somebody to help you, an integrative health professional that helps you understand what you are now putting together compared to what you've learned in the past because of those victors, right? Too many people have their head in the sand. Yes, I agree with you. But again, like we're learning, it's not necessarily our role to sit there and yell at them, right? We've sat and kind of dived into how to bring that about. Like we say something politely, not in public, but privately. So maybe in a DM, just, hey, just want to say, and if they are completely ignorant and fight back, that's when they say bring 3 or more. So then you bring a couple more people to say, hey, no, this is for real. We're just wanting to tell you in private. And if they still push back, that's when we let it go. It's not our fight. You planted the seed, you did what you needed to do, you were polite about it, and you left it alone. Their cognitive dissonance might not let them agree with you right there. It's true. It might not happen. It could happen later. It could happen at 3 o'clock in the morning when they're reading something and they're like, oh my gosh, now this all makes sense. It's not your job. It's not your journey. And certainly not the way that we need to evolve people. So when we look at the words of ancient text more subjectively, we can really start to uncover the meanings of these cycles and the meaning of the text in meaning of why they were doing these rituals and held these beliefs. Now, to recap, during All Saints' Day, we learned about the separation of church to the Protestants. Only the people with money go to church and they pay to speak to a priest and have their sins forgiven. So only the wealthy were going to heaven. And that's what the separation was like. I don't think that's fair. I think everybody should be able to read the Bible and have their own interpretation. And it shouldn't just be high priests. And that's kind of what All Saints' Day was about. So they kind of broke away from the idea that you needed money to be able to be holy or read the Bible or be privileged in any way to have that status. Now, this is kind of where we see Psalm 70 and asking God to save a human due to the fact that they're human and not because they have money. And so we can see the same things happening that are happening right now. So this is more of a petition. It has to know God to save me. Come quickly, Lord, to help me. May those who want to take my life be put to shame and confusion. And may all who desire to my ruin be turned back with disgrace. May all those who say to me, aha, aha, turn back because of their shame. May all who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. And may those who long for your saving help always say, the Lord is great. But for me, I am poor and needy. Come quickly to me, O God. You are my help and my deliverer, Lord, do not delay. So it's really saying that even though, right, there's the people of status, we're basically saying you can't talk to God, you can't be blessed by God because you are not of this status. So it's not possible. You can't go to church and repent your sins and pay for the priest to allow you to go to heaven. You're just not, it's not possible for you. So that's kind of what this is saying, is like, even though I'm broke, dude, can you help? Like, I don't understand. So I'm going to be able to tie that into World Kindness Week and World Kindness Day, because we don't know what other people are going through, right? We really don't know. We don't know their journey, especially right now. When a lot of people are not only caregivers, but they're breadwinners, they're mothers, they're single fathers, they're taking care of everything and not being able to even have more children on their own, because they're running around like a chicken with their head cut off, being the caregiver for others, because it does take a village. And our natives knew that. They had that knowledge and took care of that. And they have complete natal care. You can't be pro-life and not be pro-natal care. So I did a little research. You definitely, I'm going to go ahead and restate that since someone just joined. You can't be pro-life and not be pro-natal care. It doesn't work that way. You can't say, I force you to have babies, but then you're going to have to figure out how to do it. So that doesn't work, and it's not going to work. It hasn't worked, and that's not how it was with our natives. And so when we go back to the native heritage, right, when we go back to our sacred knowledge, they also had home care, they had hospice palliative care, they had child care, they had mental health care, they had family health caregivers, and it was all based on psychedelic plant medicine. So the fact that we have banned that in our generation speaks volumes to also what we're doing with our voting towards being against female rights. We're going back like a long time. This doesn't happen in history too many times. It just doesn't. It doesn't happen in history in too many eras in time. It doesn't happen. It's complete lunacy to me. But here we are. So back then it took a whole village, and everybody realized that, right? Everyone worked simultaneously to help each other. And the natives used natural plant medicine for everything. There was nothing synthetic, and they knew how to cure diseases. So if man brought over some diseases from another country, if there was enough time, the natives would have been able to figure that out. But they just had so many diseases at one time, they couldn't figure out all of diseases at once. So that's why disease took over the natives, because there was so many of them. They couldn't figure out the plant knowledge in time to save themselves. That's how disgusting the humans were that came over and made them that sick. So, but when we take a look at the past knowledge, we can see a deeper understanding on how to live symbiotically with the planet. And there's going to be some people that refuse to stay in that light. And there are going to be some people that refuse to go all natural and go back to basics. Now we take a look at 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 18 really states, for those that are willing to fall asleep, it's not your duty for them to hold you back, and it's not your duty necessarily to pull them forward. You do your job and you move on. If they fall short, they decide to know the knowledge and then fall asleep, like they decide to know the knowledge but not talk the talk, but not walk the walk. It's not your duty to remind them and pull them into the light. So that was really interesting. I thought that for those falling asleep, it's not your duty or it's your job to catch them up. I'm not going to read the passage, but it's reminding people that there's more than just talking the talk. It's walking the walk. So next is Matthew 25, 1 through 13. This is the parable of the 10 virgins. This is where things get a little confusing, but as we go through it, I'm going to kind of explain it so it makes a little bit more sense. And when we look at how we've been dissecting the ancient text throughout this year and relating it to the sacred secretion, Christ oil, and the physiological representation of the body, then we can get a better understanding of what this means. Because at surface level, it's a doozy. All right, so this verse is really not what you think. And when looking at it through this lens, we can see the possible explanation on how to keep your holy temple holy when others try to take a piece of it after not taking care of their own self. And the virgins represent a new human life with infinite possibilities ahead of them, and a new anointed Christ oil, a new sacred secretion that hasn't been tampered with, that hasn't been lessened. And so let's read this, shall we? Matthew 25, 1 through 13, the parable of the 10 virgins. At the time of the kingdom of heaven will be, at the time, the kingdom of heaven, so the mind, right? So the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to the bridge room. Their lamps burned of oil. So in the mind, burning bright light. So they had of oil in the center, which would be that pineal gland. 5 of them were foolish and 5 of them were wise, explaining how once you are born, you have a choice. You can go with the way of the world, or you can go the way of God energy. So they divided it up into different possibilities. You can take the blue pill or you can take the red pill. Basically is what this is saying. The foolish ones took their lamps, but didn't take any oil with them, which means that they didn't renew it every month like you could. They just used it all up throughout their life and was like, what do I do now? The wise ones, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. They were able to renew because they knew that they could every month. So the bridge room was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, the cry rang out, "Here's the bridge room, come out to meet him." And then all the virgins woke up, trimmed their lamps, and the foolish ones said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil. Our lamps are going out, dude." And the ones that were smart were like, no, sorry. They replied, "There may not be enough for both of you, us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy it yourself." But while they were on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom, oh my goodness. I hate being dyslexic sometimes. So the bridegroom, the one that's the future husband, So he arrived, and the virgins who were ready went with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the other ones came. "Lord, Lord," they said, "open the door for us." But he replied, "Truly, I tell you, I don't know you. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour." Interesting, right? It's an interesting parable. Doesn't quite mean what people really wanted to like manipulate it to mean. But when we look at it as the physiological marriage in the mind between the right and the left halves, we see this marriage of intellect, of soul, of understanding, of spirituality that allows that Christ oil to create that sacred melatonin, that land of milk and honey, and allows it to go down the spine. But with enough vibration, it can vibrate it back up and be renewed and renew your whole body. So with that theory in mind, this is why it's important to renew that oil, to bring enough with you at the time of death. What happens if your light isn't burning bright at the time of death? That's what this story is really telling us. How healthy are you when you die? How is your body vibrating in order to raise you up into the light? So again, interesting that we're having Diwali, the celebration of light. We have this in Catholicism happening. We have the birth of a new prophet. So it's when the marriage of both sides of the mind are equally balanced and they're able to produce the golden melatonin, have a positive sacred secretion down the 33 vertebrae into the sacral region and back up without having any impedance, we can have renewal of health as long as we keep that oil burning bright and clean and clear, which means during the time that Christ is making its way down, is we have to abstain from sexual experiences. We have to look introspectively. We have to focus on self, stay away from meats, eat vegan for those couple days. It's okay. It won't kill you, I promise. And it'll make you better. I promise. If you need help with that, be sure to look up some of your farm to city programs if possible. And that's going to bring us to our food portion, which is the month of Plum. So plums are incredibly, extremely nutritious. A variety of health benefits that are what, especially when we're looking at how to detox from all of the past toxins that we've brought into this present moment. And we look at the original foods on the planet, and we can see how we're supposed to eat compared to how we're eating now. Now, they contain minerals, lots of vitamins and minerals, and in addition to fiber and antioxidants that may help reduce several chronic diseases. So you can consume fresh plums, fresh or dried. Dried plums or prunes are known for improving several health conditions, including constipation, osteoporosis, and the vitamin and mineral content of plums and prunes differ a little slightly. Both are packed with nutrients. Additionally, prunes contain more calories, fiber, and carbs than fresh plums. Prunes and prune juice may have effective for relieving constipation as used as laxative due to their content of fiber and sorbitol. And plums and prunes are high in polyphenol antioxidants, which may reduce inflammation and lower the risk of several chronic diseases as well as cancer. They're also a good source of fiber and help shown reduce adipectin levels, I believe it's how it's pronounced. And both characteristics may benefit blood sugar control. Prunes have several properties that may benefit bone health and prevent or reversing bone loss, which reduce conditions like osteoporosis. So they promote health, heart, bone health, and their potential role in lowering blood sugar and cholesterol levels. And they're really, really easy to add to your diet. So they can be prepared in several ways, as well as in many types of recipes, which brings us to Raisin Bread Month, which is also right now. Now, cinnamon raisin bread is actually really healthy for you. It's low in cholesterol and saturated fats, and cinnamon bread is very rich in antioxidants. It's a great source of manganese, selenium, and dietary fibers. And cinnamon is a key ingredient in the raisin bread that contains these antioxidants and prevents oxidative damage and protects your body from free radicals. Powerful antioxidants like polyphenols are abundant and present in cinnamon compared to other spices like oregano and garlic. So additionally, these antioxidants are really powerful and automatically make cinnamon worthy of being a natural food preservative. Anti-inflammatory properties helps you manage weight, reduce risk of heart disease. But when it comes to allergies, the bread does contain wheat, eggs, and dairy. So if you can substitute those, you're good. And cinnamon allergies are present in cinnamon raisin bread. Hence, if you have a severe sensitivity to wheat, gluten, or you're lactose intolerant, this might not be the bread for you unless you know of healthy alternatives. In addition, some cinnamon raisin bread recipes contain tree nuts or peanuts, which you should avoid if you have a nut allergy. And you should avoid cinnamon raisin bread if you have diabetes, because cinnamon raisin is very sweet and will spike your blood sugar levels. So eat a plum afterwards, maybe. So you can kind of see how, wrapping this all back around to recap, how important it is to really understand the cycles of the planet, right? To really understand what it means in other contexts, in other cultures, in other places around the world. Because when we see how our beliefs actually intersect those of others, we can have a better understanding, have less conflict, and live in that place of peace, that place of limited ego. Because I don't know if we can eradicate all ego here on Earth. I would love to be able to do that, but a lot of us are possibly never going to reach that space. But we can strive to attain to, and we can do better, and we can live in light, and we can be that light festival for others that are going through a really dark time, during the darkest time of the year so far. And with that, I hope that you can hold with you the love and light that we all need you to be right now. Keep yourself healthy. Let's detox during this time. Let's purge what doesn't serve us. Let's get rid of the toxins that we've acquired over the year and look introspectively on how we can end bad habits to move forward with our evolutionary soul journey and live more for our higher purpose in love and light and gratitude. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Blessed be, namaste, all the things. I appreciate you. We're going to end it a little early today. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave comments below kindly, as it is still World Kindness Day and World Kindness Week. Let's not forget. So again, if you have any questions, please leave them below, or any corrections. If you have a correction that you would like to propose, please do so politely down below. Again, thank you. Namaste. God bless. Blessed be. Shalom. All of the things. Thank you. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.